The eyes are probably the most important factor when it comes to a person's facial attractiveness, and that goes for both men and women. You can get away with slight asymmetries, you can hide a slightly recessed jaw by growing a beard, or with makeup manipulation for women. Nose jobs and hair transplants are considered a routine surgery nowadays, but the eyes are different. There are some ways to improve their appearance, but they're quite limited compared to other areas of the face. So, what are the characteristics that make someone's eyes attractive? I've gathered 10 things that cover not just the eyes, but the overall eye area, and I think that's pretty much all of them. But if you have something that I didn't cover, feel free to comment below. Let's start with the color. I think we're growing out of the color craze as a society. People are starting to realize that the color is definitely a nice extra, but it's not the end all be all. I'd rather be a person with a good shape, rather than a good color. Here are some examples that prove that shape is superior to color. Of course, there are going to be some people that love blue or green eyes more than others, but I think the vast majority would prefer shape over color. Speaking of shape, what's considered attractive? We could include many factors here, such as the canthal tilt, but for now let's stick to just the shape. Women can get away with many eye shapes. There's a trend lately regarding fox eyes, but even rounded eyes can look good on a woman. With men though, that's a different story. Narrow-shaped eyes are generally preferred over rounded ones. I'm sure you've heard the term hunter eyes, and it involves many things, and having a shape like the one we described is a part of this. We talked about canthal tilt, but what is it exactly? Here are some examples to make this clear. Imagine a line connecting the right and left corner of your eye. If it's almost parallel to the ground, then it's neutral and that's good. A positive tilt would be this, which is definitely desired. And now an example of a negative tilt. A negative tilt makes the eyes look kinda tired and even sad. Now, let's move around the eye. We talked about hunter eyes, and another characteristic of them is the eyelid exposure, both upper and lower. This usually goes hand in hand with the underlying bone structure. High and prominent cheekbones will often result into a good under eye area, without eye bags etc. A good brow ridge will often result into the eyes appearing deep set, which again often comes with upper eyelid coverage. And this brings us to protrusion. Deep set eyes are generally more attractive than bulging ones. Not much to add here, so let's go around the eye again. Eyebrows are definitely something that can add or decrease value to the overall appearance of the eyes. Thick and straight eyebrows with a neutral tilt are generally desired. Negative tilted or rounded eyebrows can make you look a bit weaker and less masculine. Ideally, you should aim for a small distance between the eyebrows, just not too small to the point where it looks like a unibrow. And as for the size, you should again aim for a happy medium. Not too big, but not too thin and polished because you'll look feminine. Eyelashes is another one. That too is a nice extra just like the color. It's not a make or break, except if we're talking about something extreme. Let's zoom out a bit and let's talk about the size, harmony and symmetry. No person's eyes are completely identical, so don't freak out if you have some small asymmetry. A big one though would be a problem. The size and harmony go hand in hand. Big eyes fit some face shapes, while they can look a bit scary on others. Generally the hunter eyes come with a normal to smaller size, compared to rounded eyes. The interocular distance is another one. It's the distance between the eyes, and once again we're looking for a happy medium. People give all kinds of ratios, but as we said earlier, don't freak out over a trivial thing. Another thing that often goes unnoticed is the overall appearance of your skin, including the skin around your eyes. A high carb and sodium diet may lead to increased puffiness of the face and therefore the area around your eyes. Alcohol and smoking can also decrease the attractiveness of your skin. There are also many different skin conditions, most of which are treatable, so visit a dermatologist if you have one. I remember my first girlfriend used to have dry eyelid skin when she woke up. It wasn't anything serious, just a topical cream and it went away, and many times it's just that simple, so don't waste any more time if you face something similar. Now, let's move inside the eye again. Sclera exposure is something that isn't generally desired. It's the white of your eyes, and if it's visible underneath the apple of the eye, it's generally not that attractive. Speaking of the white part, that part is also an indicator of good health. It doesn't always mean something, but that's how we unconsciously perceive it. So if you have bloodshot eyes, visit a doctor to see what's up, and maybe you can find a solution that increases your attractiveness, as well as your health in some cases. The X factor when it comes to the eyes is the gaze. I've seen people who have objectively nice eyes, but their gaze was just off, they looked kinda lost, or even dumb. This has to do more with a person's temperament rather than their genes. So anyway, I think I went through them all. Again, if I missed something, feel free to comment. Before we move to the solutions, I wanted to repeat the following. Don't freak out over trivial things. You don't have to have everything I mentioned in order to be considered attractive. The biggest thing I see in the black pill community is an unhealthy obsession with the upper eyelid and having hunter eyes. I mean, sure, it's definitely nice to have, but it's not the only type of eye that's considered attractive. Once again, if you have most of what I mentioned, your eyes are attractive or at least fine. The problems start when you have many things together, such as a negative canthal tilt, coupled with thin eyebrows and under eye bags. So, let's see what you can do about them. A reminder before we start, I'm not a medical professional, so contact a doctor if you want to be certain about something, and ideally many doctors to reach a sensible conclusion. So, let's start. When it comes to skin, we talked about low carb and low sodium diets, as well as creams. The eyebrows are something that can be improved a lot. Topical minoxidil can thicken the hair anywhere you put it, whether that's your head or beard, but I'm skeptical about how would one apply to the eyebrows without it trickling down, cause you definitely don't want it in your eyes. Some people have done hair transplants, and I think the preferred method is FUE. Bloodshot eyes are often the result of high eye pressure, and there are also treatments for that. Again, ask your doctor. As we mentioned earlier, the cheekbones can elevate the eye a bit, and it can have a positive effect on things like under eye bags, or even how much sclera is visible under the apple. I've seen that effect on people who did fillers, and I talk about this more on another video. There are also some other procedures when it comes to the lower eyelid, but again I'm not very qualified to talk about them, and I'm also quite scared as we approach the inside of the eyes. The canthal tilt can potentially be improved with a brow lift, but again, you have to choose a well-respected doctor in order to guarantee an aesthetically pleasing result. A friend of my last girlfriend tried to obtain that fox eye look, and she ended up looking like a witch. Her brows are literally in a 45-degree angle, just horrible. I said earlier that there's not much you can do when it comes to the eyes, and then I just listed a bunch of procedures. What I meant is that these things aren't as proven and reliable as something like a nose job, let's say. Not that there aren't any botches there, but it's generally quite accurate and cookie cutter. There's more space for error when it comes to the eye area, in my humble opinion. Now, let's see some examples of celebrity eyes, having in mind what we just mentioned. Let's take a look at Cillian Murphy. He has a great bone structure and it provides good under eye support. He obviously has a nice color. The shape could be better, but it's not terrible either. His weak spots are his thin eyebrows, which at least have a good tilt, and his upper eyelid exposure. As I said, your eyes don't need to be completely hooded in order to look nice, but his upper eyelid is a bit too exposed. And now the X factor, the gaze. I've seen many comments of women praising his icy stare. Many times people conflate the actor with the character he plays, but anyway, he definitely has a quote-unquote alpha look in his eyes, especially as Thomas Shelby. Sean O'Prey on the other hand has it all. There's not much to add here. What about you? What are your strengths and your weak spots when it comes to the eyes? Comment below and I'll see you on the next one.